We are in Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the Indy 500, and tonight we have a great crowd on hand to see round 8 of the U.S. Supercross Series. Hello, everyone. I'm ARTECKMAN, along with former Supercross champion DAVIDBAILEY. Well, the Kawasaki's winning in Atlanta and Daytona. They've got good momentum, proving they don't want to finish second and third all year.
Right. Well, they've made things very difficult for McGrath now. They took a huge chunk out of his points lead. McGrath crashed in the past 2 rounds, finishing off the podium and well off the pace. He really needs a win here tonight to get back on track.
Let's check the action out from Daytona and get caught up.
In the 125 action, Mickeal Pichon had a big lead, but this rider, number 23, Tim Ferry, pleased his friends and family from Florida, making it through a maze of bikes after starting in 11th position to take the checkered flag. Mickeal Pichon, after that big lead, picked up some banners and would hold on for second place. Mickeal Pichon leading by 4 points in the 125 points race over Tim Ferry and Kevin Windham. In the 250s, Jeremy McGrath trying to prove a point. The unthinkable happened for Jeremy here as John Dowd goes down, endoed, and right behind him you see number 1 on the dirt. Jeremy McGrath had no place to go when Dowd went down.
Well, that's the advantage to getting the hole shot, which McGrath is accustomed to doing. Now he's got to come from dead last. You see him ripping off the tearaway there. He's going to have to go to work and carve through all these riders. And it happened to me in 1986. I went down the second corner. Rick Johnson won that year. I came all the way back to second, but I had nothing left to fight with him after carving through this rough Daytona track.
McGrath would pass 22 bikes in 19 laps, finishing 7th out in front. Mike Kiedrowski looking for his 3rd consecutive Daytona title. He started in 5th and began a most dominating Daytona for him.
Mike Kiedrowski very comfortable on this Daytona track. My dad lays this one out. It's a little different than the rest of the races. It's a lot rougher. It's not just the obstacles that you have to deal with. The ruts in the corners, it gets rough everywhere on the track, and that really plays in favor of Mike and his strength. And his mechanic, Brian Lunas, and Mike have both been working on racing the racetrack, not the other riders, and it paid off here today.
Mike Kiedrowski, his first win on the season, and the 2nd in a row for Kawasaki. Mike LaRocco able to pass Doug Henry for 2nd place, and Emig passing Ward for 4th. In the point standings, Jeremy McGrath's lead shrinking to 15 points.
So, David, that brings us up to date after Daytona. Let's go to Jan Beekes, who's with the 2 mics from Kawasaki.
Well, Art, at the beginning of this Supercross season, it looked like Jeremy McGrath was going to be the only winner. But thanks to these 2 riders, things have really changed. Mike Kiedrowski, after coming off a win at Daytona, you told me that you've stopped racing Jeremy. Now you're racing the track. Is that what's made the difference?
Yeah, I think, you know, Jeremy's a good rider. He rides a different style than I do. And, you know, it's kind of tough if I'm watching him and trying to race him that I can ride like him. I end up losing time. And Daytona was a rough track. There, you know, it's a different riding style there and everything, and you have to really watch the track, and that's what I did, and I came out with the win. So I feel confident that's what I need to do to win.
Well, that is your strategy, but I know that your teammate, Mike LaRocco, you go about things in a little different way. You're close enough to really get after Jeremy for the points championship. It's your home race. Does that give you added incentive?
Yeah, I think so. You know, it helps a lot when everybody's out there cheering for you, and it makes you want to ride that much harder. So, yeah, I'm going to get out there and try and get out front and, you know, like Mike says, race the track. But, you know, I'm just going to go out there and, you know, give it 100%.
Now, you have obviously picked up some momentum. Have you changed your riding at all this year?
Not really my riding. We've done a lot of changes with the bike, and, you know, it's helped me out a lot, you know, some of the setups. So that's helped a lot, but, you know, I think maybe just getting fluid and going has helped also.
Well, these 2 riders, I can tell you, they want to make sure it's not a 1-rider race. Art?
Thanks, Jan. Let's take a look now at the Suzuki track map, David.
Well, it looks exactly like Minnesota did to me, the same layout. They've moved around the obstacles a little bit and given the riders options, better places to pass, and they've got a long plateau jump for the finish. Lots of air time there.
Okay, David, the future superstars, the 125 main event coming up. This edition of ES. Welcome back to Indianapolis. ARTECKMAN along with DAVIDBAILEY and Jan Beekes. The 125 riders now at the gate warming up their machines as we take a look at the Suzuki starting grid. And there are 2 riders we won't find on the starting grid today, Robbie Raynard and Mike Brown. Riley Rayner just simply staying home, trying to get 100% from his injuries over the past. Mike Brown got injured on press day, a shoulder injury.
Well, sometimes press day is when you're sort of searching for things and you're not really comfortable with the track yet. It's still in the process of being filled, and that's where mistakes can come, and unfortunately, he suffered one.
Mike Brown on the site tried it in practice, but was just too sore. Had all kinds of chest bruises to deal with, and just felt he couldn't go for this main event here in Indianapolis. But the top 3 in points in the closest points race in Supercross are ready to go. Tim Ferry, Kevin Windham, and Mickeal Pichon. Pichon, number 101, doesn't get the best of starts. It's Kevin Windham, and number 78, John Sebastian Roy, out front.
Windham's been getting off to good starts all year long. The question is, can he hang on to it?
Number 97 on the yellow Suzuki from Lenore, North Carolina, Jim Chester. And Davey Yezek got a pretty good start, number 37. Now as Windham makes his move on the leader. There's Windham, number 43, and he gets by Chester. Approaching the triple. Let's see how he takes it. He makes the triple. That's encouraging for Kevin Windham. Here we see Tim Ferry. Now Ferry, along with Pichon, the heat winners, did not get the greatest of starts. Ferry in 5th, Pichon in 7th place. Ferry, of course, number 23, tightening up that points race as we go to the Honda Triple Cab. Whoa, and not all the 125s are making that triple.
Well, it's tough enough for the 250s. You're coming right out of a corner. You got to negotiate that. On the 125, it's a lot more difficult. You don't have any room for error. And right now, Windham is opening up an early lead. This is something he's done really well all year. As you see him clear that big, long finish line jump, these riders can't do it. Windham, at times, the fastest guy on the racetrack, usually in the beginning of the race. But he gets nervous. Being nervous is worse than being tired. Your arms pump up. And if he can get out to a huge lead right here, that'll make things a lot easier for him in the later stages of the race.
Windham opening his Supercross career with a 3rd place in Orlando, then his best finish is 2nd, then 2/3. As we look at the surprise, really, of the field, number 37, Davey Yezek. He got the whole shot at Daytona in the last race, has shown fast in the beginning of these races, and once again makes his move into 2nd place right there.
And look at number 23, Tim Ferry, up the inside. He's been watching all of Yezek's moves. He moves the inside and picks up the number 3 spot.
So we have Kevin Windham, our leader here in the 125s, along with Yezek, number 37, and Tim Ferry, 23, in very good position.
Ferry's pushing Davey Yezek. I have a feeling if these riders can keep this pace, that's going to be bad news for Windham.
Tim Ferry, number 23, the winner in the opener in Orlando, and the winner in the last race. There you see Ferry making that tabletop jump at the finish line, and Yezek not attempting it. So Ferry's just looking for his spot right now, David.
Well, I think he's got a little bit more speed than Yezek and possibly a little more stamina. But it's all Kevin Windham out front with about a 3-4 second lead. Still comfortable cushion. No reason to ride tense.
These two, Davey Yezek and Tim Ferry, are actually helping themselves in this battle. They're not holding each other back with bar-to-bar action. They're actually pushing themselves up closer and chipping away from Kevin Windham's lead.
Well, normally when you get two riders in a battle like this, you got one guy trying to come in and make the block pass, the other guy shuts the door, and that does slow the pace. Although these guys have just, they've got themselves into a battle where they're not taking any speed away from each other. They do appear to be chipping away at Windham's lead. Now Pichon's starting to move through the pack, and I have a feeling he's going to come up and visit these guys. He does it every week.
He says goodbye to Chester with a nice turn. Looking smoother now once he gets in the open field. Kevin Windham is our leader. Just turning 17 this season. Yamaha has really not put a lot of pressure on him. His mentor is Bob Hanna.
It's a sport where only the young survive, and yet its youth must deal with a feeling of urgency, where there is only a small window of time to fulfill their superstar ambitions.
For this early in the ball game, I'm just ecstatic.
Starting his first pro season as a 16-year-old with a closet full of amateur trophies, number 43 Kevin Windham faces the fast lane for money with an abundance of talent.
He has more talent than I had, more talent than Johnson had already. That can be good or bad. Windham's a Ronnie Lachine. Windham can hit a line in a corner that big. I never could. But when a guy can hit a line that big so easy, sometimes he says, well, I do this so easy and I don't really need to practice because I'm too good. Now, if you can get a guy like him that has so much talent and get Ricky Johnson's attitude in him, you really have something.
I had some like $70 breadsticks whenever I went out. They were good.
How do you convince a promising youngster that time is his ally? Having a legend named Bob Hanna as a mentor certainly helps.
National champion or Supercross 250 champion at 17, I don't think that's the way to go. I say look down the road as you want to peak when you're 21 or 23 and get in there and make some good money and really beat the big boys in. Someday have the goal to beat Jeremy McGrath, but right now beat Kevin Windham. Every week beat your last week. Since he can outride me already, it's hard for me to tell him how to ride. I don't push on his ride. His father really is better at that than anybody, because Dwayne knows Kevin like a book. And if I sit with his dad and I'm watching him with his dad says, see that? He shouldn't do that. He should do this, you know, and he'll talk to Kevin about it, and sure enough, he reads that kid like a book.
Landing on the podium in his first 4 races with only an arm pump problem to deal with tells us Yamaha's non-pressure teachings have been right on. Hanna realizes what worked for Hurricane Hanna won't necessarily work for Kevin Windham, but there's one area of non-compromise: conditioning.
I was not with him for a couple of weeks, and I said, have you been doing your running? And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I got to take you on my new running trail. We're down at the Yamaha test track, and he goes, you come with me this afternoon. I said, all right. And we run up this hill, and we run clear to the top. He goes, see that pile of rocks there? And I go, yeah. He goes, count them. There's 13 in it. We'll put 14 in there today. I've been running here for 2 weeks. Every day I come up here, I lay a rock on top of that pile. And, you know, so he's really thinking about where he's going.
Hanna has obviously succeeded in one area, keeping his young phenom loose and smiling.
Right now, Kevin Windham's trying to hold on to first place as Davey Yezek, along with Tim Ferry and Pichon, are trying to close the gap as we take a look at the Suzuki Field Summary. Pichon, in very good position, is really on a roll. Rejoining 125 action from Indianapolis as Kevin Windham's lead now has shrunk to about a bike length. Number 43, Windham. 37 is Davey Yezek, and he's making his move. He takes over the lead. Windham had led for the first 6 laps. Here comes Tim Ferry, right on the heels of Windham.
I don't understand what happened to Windham there. He lost so much ground right after Yezek made the pass. Almost let Ferry by, and he's really slowed the pace. There's got to be something wrong.
Windham has lost his entire pace. He's looking over his shoulder as Pichon is on the move. He's next attacking Windham.
He looks good. He came from out of nowhere, and he appears to be the fastest guy on the racetrack right now. And Windham, who had all that early speed, has definitely slowed the pace. Hanna's not going to like that. One thing you cannot teach, and that is how to ride under pressure. You cannot simulate that during the week.
And here's Pichon, 101, cuts inside Windham for 3rd place. And he's not that far away from 2nd and 1st.
Well, look at his rhythm through that section there. He jumped all those doubles, and he appears to be just riding effortless. We touched on it earlier, I think, in Minnesota. It was a track very similar to this one. And Pichon came from behind, and he rode. It didn't even look like he was trying out there, but he's going faster than everyone.
Davey Yezek, number 37. His best finish was a 2nd place right here in Indianapolis in 1993. He hasn't been on the podium since then. Right now, he's got a chance for his first win.
Well, he still maintains that same lead over Ferry. You know, Ferry's followed him the entire race through traffic, and he still hasn't been able to put a move on. And right there, he goes to the inside.
Ferry cuts to the inside and takes the lead away from Yezek after battling him about 2 laps.
Well, you know, I think he glanced over his shoulder and saw Pichon coming and said, I got to make my move now or never.
Tim Ferry, our new leader. Davey Yezek and Pichon right on his heels.
By the time Pichon gets around Yezek, if he can, Ferry should have a pretty comfortable lead. As these laps wind down, that looks like he might be able to pick up another win, and Yezek getting him some momentum through that roof section.
Well, Ferry slides out. Yezek takes the lead, and Pichon really got momentum going wide and zipping by.
And we're going to take another look at it right here. Ferry on the inside, possibly feeling the pressure of Yezek. Gets on the gas early. The back tire wasn't in that groove. Slides out, and he's kind of in an awkward place there. He's got to do a full 360, and Pichon does get a nice drive out of that corner. And Windham, who's dropped so far back already, is unable to capitalize on any of this. And now Pichon, I think he has a lot of confidence. Whenever you've got a rider that's not really a contender all the time, you know, you've got to give you confidence. I think he knows he can make that pass.
Here comes Pichon right on the rear tire of Davey Yezek. Ferry, incidentally, up and running in 3rd. Let's see what Pichon tries to do.
Well, he's setting him up already. He's going inside, outside. He jumped the plateau and went wide to get a drive out of the corner. If Yezek was to make a mistake, he'd have had the drive and been able to make the pass. I like that in Pichon. He never falls. He's a lot like McGrath in the 250s.
Taking the inside corner instead of going wide. We just saw him, and Pichon now in the whoop section, picking up the slack against Davey Yezek. Pichon has had a wonderful season so far this year. He's been a very consistent rider. If it hadn't been for the banners in his wheel at Daytona, he could have won that race easily. But the brakes went Tim Ferry's way. Here comes Pichon, handling the whoops flawlessly. Yezek stuttering just a little bit.
Well, I think Pichon just has a little deeper bag of tricks to reach into. Right now, he's kind of being held up by this lap rider. He is unable to do anything there. He does a nice job of getting rid of Terry Parsons, the lap rider, and setting his sights on Yezek. Back there a little further, you notice that Pichon was able to jump that triple, and Yezek couldn't do it. I think eventually that's going to wear on Yezek. And right there, Pichon's more aggressive. He's able to jump everything. I think he has more speed.
Mickeal looking for his second win of the year. He wanted Atlanta coming from behind, and the inside move on Davey Yezek, a nice block.
Pichon brilliant at working his way through the pack. Doesn't waste any time with the leader. He set that up a long time ago. He's been going inside, outside, and he just got Yezek off balance right here. He squares the corner and sets himself up to take the inside into this next corner. Yezek goes wide, leaves the door wide open.
So the charming Frenchman, who's in his first complete season in 125 Supercross, Mickeal Pichon, is on the top of the leaderboard as we take a look at the Suzuki Field summary. Can Pichon nail down the victory? We'll find out when we return to Indianapolis. We're back at Indianapolis. Mickeal Pichon is our leader in the 125 main event. ARTECKMAN, DAVIDBAILEY, and Jan Beekes in the pits. As we take a look at the Honda stopwatch, and it's a nice lead by Pichon. Ferry about 6 seconds back, but where's Kevin Windham? Windham in fourth has been going backwards.
Here he is, and you can see how hard it is for the 125 to try to jump this finish line jump. We mentioned in the track description how far this was, and there's a few 250s in practice that we're doing it. Pichon, a master of jumping, is coming up short every time, but he's getting over it good enough.
There are 3 dumpsters underneath that tabletop to support the jump.
Well, they don't have to haul as much dirt that way, and it makes that thing a lot longer. And that's more exciting. It gives plenty of time in the air for these guys to grab tear-offs and do all their fancy stuff when they take the checkered flag.
Now, originally, they were going to put the goal posts up on the tabletop, but with the jump before the tabletop, they would have been jumping right into the finish line sign.
Well, they got to be careful where they position that. If they position it far enough up, the 250s will jump over that sign. These guys are going to get a lot of air as we watch the lap time creeping up to around a minute 2 for Pichon, our leader.
Pichon looking very smooth, pulling out a bigger lead lap after lap now in front of Davey Yezek and Tim Ferry. Ferry doesn't want Pichon to get out of sight. Ferry needs a second place to stay in this points race. And he's putting the pressure right now on Davey Yezek. Yezek has not stayed out with the leading pack this long in a race this year, and Ferry is dialing in on him.
Wants to be a real shot in the arm for Yezek to be able to hang on to second place, and he's been doing it the whole race. Ferry has not really dropped back or made any moves on Yezek any different this whole race. I have a feeling he's waiting until this last couple of laps to make his move.
Look at that rhythm of Mickeal Pichon. He makes it look so easy, David.
Well, it's a lot harder than it looks. I've been out there and done it, and believe me, it's a lot of hard work and training that gets you to that level.
And here comes Tim Ferry. We're on lap 14, which means there's only a little more than a lap left in this race, and he easily gets by Davey Yezek for second place.
Well, I think he should have done that a long time ago, don't you? Maybe it'd have been a factor for the win here tonight. He seems like he's got the speed down. Look at the lead he's already pulled out. It's either he's picked up the pace or Yezek has just finally said, well, that's all I've got.
Our leader, Mickeal Pichon, is now on the final lap, and he's got it in a breeze.
Now he's in cruise control right now, savoring this win. He's pretty much known he was going to win this race, and it's just enjoyable to go out there and know that you've got it. All you got to do is keep it on 2 wheels. It's a great feeling.
You know, so far, about the only segment of this guy's game that he really needs improving on, the starts.
Right. Well, he doesn't need to go to LaRocco for lessons there. He needs to just work on it himself, and I'm sure that will come.
Mickeal taking his time as he rounds this Indianapolis track for the final time and giving the thumbs up to the fans.
Pretty impressive ride for Pichon, and holding the points lead his first full season in the U.S. riding Supercross, and he's got to be getting sick of being compared to Jean-Michel Bayle, but He's doing the same thing, and he looks good on 250s also. I think we can look for really good things out of this kid in the future.
And, David, there's champagne in that young man's future, that's for sure. His second win of the season, his third of his career, as Tim Ferry takes second place. There you see the very happy Mickeal Pichon. And it had to be a happy moment for Davey Yezek, too, taking third. He's on the podium for the first time since 1993.
And I'm surprised with Windham. He had the early lead, looked like he had everything in control, and he just faded all the way to fourth.
And also a slight disappointment for Tim Ferry, who had the lead and then made a slight mistake slipping out and had to settle for second place. Let's go to Jan.
Tim Ferry, I know this wasn't the race you were hoping for. It's your 20th birthday, but you came up one position short. What happened when he went down?
I don't know. I just came into the turn a little hot and heavy. I changed my line because I thought Yezek would come on the inside of me, and I just slid out.
But you did make up a lot of ground. I mean, you did get valuable points, so you did salvage something.
Yeah, it's getting further and further away, though. I want to keep winning. I want to win races. I was the fastest guy all day long, and I just had a little bad luck in the main.
So even on your birthday, you're only happy with a win?
No, I'm not happy with second. Second's the first loser.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
In the run for the 125 East Championship, Pichon by 7 points. Windham in his rookie season, 14 points back. Brown and Carsten tied for 5th.
Mickeal, that was a great ride for you. That was fantastic. Now, you mixed it up there with a lot of different guys. Davey Yezek was running good, so was Tim Ferry. How was it for you out there?
Yeah, I have got a good start, best start, and after, I was very, very tired at the middle of the race, and after I tried to ride and did no mistake, and it was so good. I'm very happy. I know I'm very lucky because Tim Ferry and Crash and passing like that, but for the championship, it's really good, and I'm very happy. It was a good race.
Yeah, but being consistent is what wins races, so you got to be happy with that, even though they looked a little faster in some places on the track.
Yeah, it's not necessary to take every race for win. This championship is very long, and I need to ride all the time at the same speed, don't take risk, and all the time in the podium is good. Since the beginning of the season, I'm all the time, every race I'm on the top 3. So for me, it's very good for me and for my team and for everybody with me.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
A shining moment for number 101, Mickeal Pichon. A disappointing moment for Kevin Windham, who'd been on the podium all the races with the exception of this one.
Well, the last thing he needs right now, early in his career, is to be labeled as a rider who fades. He's got to get that psychological aspect worked out.
The 250s coming up next. Honda flashback. Let's go to the year 1993 right here in Indianapolis. Jeremy McGrath in his first year on the 250s, battling it out with his Honda teammate Steve Lamson.
Kind of looks like it does these days, with McGrath taking the early lead and never looking back. Further back in the pack, it was Emmett going underneath Denny Stevenson, take over the number 3 position.
This would be the final time that Indianapolis fans would see Jeremy McGrath with the number 15 on his back, as he becomes the first rookie to win in his first 250 season. Let's take a look at the highlights from heat number 1 now from our Honda helmet cam as they get out of the gate. Lots of traffic.
You see how tight things are in the first turn. That was a look at Doug Henry. Now he's way up there on the outside. He carves around all these guys and goes into second place. Guess who gets the whole shot? Mike LaRocco.
The Indiana native son taking the lead early away from Todd DeHoof.
But it was a great battle out front between Doug Henry and Mike LaRocco. Watch this exchange. Henry up the inside. They're both looking for the fast line. There's only room for one bike, guys.
LaRocco bobbled a bit. Henry came down on top of him. Tire marks down the left side of LaRocco's body. The wind knocked out of LaRocco. Henry had the presence of mind to get right back up and start moving again.
Well, in our replay, watch what happens to LaRocco. Doug Henry's bike right into the side of him. And look at how twisted the front end of LaRocco's bike gets. His body's obviously twisted just as bad. He sat there in pain, had the wind knocked out of him. He's got problems.
Meanwhile, Henry took on Larry Ward for the lead. Henry doing a nice job coming out of that crash with a very sore thumb. He took on number 11, Larry Ward, for the lead.
Watch right here. He goes up the inside, leaves Larry Ward about an inch. Larry Ward with the presence of mind to just kind of play it cool right there, keep it on 2 wheels, and he'll go back after Henry right here. He jumps the plateau, sets him up on the outside, but he doesn't quite get the drive.
1 lap to go, and Henry, with the inside track, will win heat number 1. Ward taking a shortcut as the hay bale got out onto the track.
It didn't really help him out. It kind of slowed up the momentum, giving more room to Doug Henry, who took the first heat win. Pretty good ride from crashing and coming back like that. That's tough to do.
And Michael Craig taking a third behind Larry Ward. The top four from each heat race going directly to the main event. David Huffman sneaking in there with a fourth. But the work was just beginning in the Kawasaki pits as Jan Beekes was there to find out.
Well, Art, Mike LaRocco Sr. has been feverishly working here on his son's motorcycle. They replaced the whole fork assembly, the front wheel, the triple clamps. The only thing that they haven't had to change here is the handlebars themselves. Obviously, you can see they are now trying to do some repairs on the rear of the bike. It looks like there might be a slight bend in the swing arm here in the Kawasaki pits. They're feverishly trying to get Mike LaRocco ready for the semi.
Looks like Mike LaRocco Sr. is ready for Karate 101. Well, the second heat lacked the drama of the opener, mainly because Jeremy McGrath took the lead and simply ran away with it.
The battle was for the final transfer spot between Ezra Lusk and John Dowd. Check out this battle. These guys are handlebar to handlebar through the loop section, and finally Lusk takes the advantage.
Jeremy, big lead. He takes the checkers, has not lost a heat race all year, but a good one for number 7, David.
Finally, he's been going to the semi too many times this year, but he's got more confidence after winning in Daytona.
Lamson and Lusk also going directly to the main. In the first semifinal, LaRocco crashed in the first turn, had to try to come back. Phil Lawrence in the lead for a while, that is.
Fell a face plant right there, which hands the lead over to Buddy Antonez. And there you get a glimpse of LaRocco having to come through traffic. This has not been a good night for his home crowd.
It was a battle with Decker as Decker will bobble, and LaRocco takes advantage of number 27, cutting inside.
Decker doing a good job of remounting. He only loses one position, and he's going to the main.
Antonez, DeHoop, LaRocco, Decker, and Rich Taylor going directly to the main. Brian Swank and Denny Stevenson crashed late in the race, had to go to the last chance qualifier. In semifinal number 2, 3 riders battled hard for the lead throughout the race.
Watch number 9, that's Brian Hughes, up to the 250s for the 125 class this week with the early lead and the Yamaha teammates. What are they both doing in the semi?
John Dowd and Jeff Emig. Emig, number 6, taking on Ryan Hughes, and it proved to be a great battle.
Emig putting on one of his patented block passes, leaves Ryan no place to go. Ryan comes right back underneath him, takes the lead again, and the race is on.
But Emig has been racing very well lately. A 3rd in Atlanta, a 4th in Daytona.
And watch right here, the same turn. Ryan, pay attention. Emig back under the inside, takes the win, semi 2.
And so 5 more riders heading directly to the main event. The others going to the last chance qualifier, Emig, Hughes, Dowd, Pederson, and David Pingree, with Jeff DeMent and Brian Swink battling it out for first place, and both going to the main event. We'll be back with the 250s from Indianapolis in a moment. Welcome back to Indianapolis, the RCA Dome for the 8th round of the Supercross season. The 250s getting ready to go. You see John Dowd putting his goggles on right there. The fan favorite, of course, his home track, Mike LaRocco, and his dad checking the rear end of the bike, saying, hey, it's okay. We've repaired the entire bike. Not long ago, we visited Mike at his South Bend, Indiana home. It's not that the Hoosier State's Mike LaRocco doesn't like to have a friendly game of one-on-one once in a while.
He set the pick.
He just always preferred racing.
Nothing but first places in this trophy room.
Well, I guess when you live by yourself, the second thing worth testing. When I was a kid, I went to the races, and I watched guys like Marty Smith and Bob Hannah back when I was younger, and I know that I wanted to be like them. You know, I idolized them. But, you know, as I grew up and I started racing, and I didn't ever think that, I didn't say that this is what I was going to do. I just started getting better at it, and until I realized that I could win races and I could do it, that's when I set my mind to do it.
A day at Mike LaRocco's summer home in South Bend is anything but a relaxing day off. An early riser, LaRocco has an old high school friend as his personal trainer.
I really didn't even know that he rode or anything like that. He'd come to school a couple days a week, and one day we were sitting in class, and I noticed he had a bunch of calluses and blisters and scrapes all over his hands, and I couldn't imagine what he had gotten into during the weekend. And he told me that he was at a race that weekend riding dirt bikes, and I was just pretty much amazed at that. I really had no idea what he did in his spare time, and not to mention anybody at school, not only a handful of people knows what he does.
LaRocco's regimented workout schedule is broken up with 5 meals a day. Every calorie, carbohydrate, and gram of fat, sodium, and protein is charted to meet specific goals. The final workout of the day takes place on his 40 acres between his house and mechanic Mike LaRocco Sr.'s home. There's both a supercross and motocross track, including a 125-foot tabletop jump called King Kong. With a home fit for a king and all the amenities championships bring, Mike LaRocco is forever looking to the future.
I don't really think it's ever too young to start having dreams come true.
Unknown to most is Mike LaRocco, the businessman.
And then to Switzerland? You kidding me?
Who also has a talent for design. On the drawing board now is an indoor pool for his home. But don't be mistaken, there are few distractions from the immediate goal of repeating his recent Atlanta victory before his Indiana home folk.
David, it's get nervous time right now. I don't think I've seen Jeremy McGrath so concerned of going into a race.
Well, he expects to win these things, and the past 2 rounds have been a disaster. He crashed in both Atlanta and Daytona, and he's handed the momentum over to the Kawasaki guys. They've won the past 2 rounds.
There's no question the spell that Jeremy McGrath had over this entire field has been broken. He doesn't want the points race to tighten any further. This is a focus for Jeremy McGrath. And McGrath a great start as we watch from the Honda helmet cam. McGrath the whole shot. LaRocco a good start.
Not a bad start. Rich Taylor providing this point of view. We see Antonez right there. Boy, it's tight. Look at how close they get to the hay bales right there. As you take a look at Kiedrowski working that outside, trying to stay out of traffic, trying to stay in a clean line. You see Ryan Hughes is up in there, John Dowd off to the right. Look at Kiedrowski, jumps that double up into the inside.
Meanwhile, out in front, Jeremy McGrath is extending his lead after the whole shot. This is just exactly what he had hoped for. He could have dreamt for a better start in a situation. You see Mike LaRocco, number 2. Hughes, number 9. He's off to a great start. Both are going to challenge Todd the Hoop shortly. As we look from the Honda triple cam, and you see all the flash bulbs popping out there from the fans on the triple.
McGrath off to an early lead, just what he needs, and there's a look at LaRocco, and you know, I think LaRocco, he's got to be sore. That bike wasn't the only thing twisted in that heat race crash.
They estimated they replaced about $12,000 to $15,000 worth of parts to get number 2 back on the track and running like this. Here he goes inside at Todd the Hoop, moving into 4th place. Henry is in 3rd.
And check out Ryan Hughes, a pretty good start for him. You know, I've noticed in the 125 that he gets faster and faster as the race goes on, and this is a 20-lap main as opposed to the 15-lap 125 main.
Ryan Hughes making the move on Todd the Hoop. What a pack right there. LaRocco, the Hoop, and Hughes. Hughes looks stronger on the 250s, Dave.
Well, I think it fits his style a little bit better. You can't be quite as aggressive, and that's usually what gets him in trouble on the 125. He gets a little excited and makes mistakes. Here he's got to treat that bike with a little more respect. I think it suits him well.
Nice job of the whoops as he got by number 25, Todd the Hoop. The Hoop, after the good start, looks like he's got an anchor on the back wheel. It's Mike Kiedrowski, number 7 right now, huffing by him.
Kiedrowski looking good. He knows he's got to make his moves now or those leaders will be gone. And you see Larry Ward and Lamson. Those guys are buried in the pack. It's going to be tough for them to come from that far behind.
Lamson, number 5. Ward, number 11. Stalling on the corner. Michael Craig. Henry goes by. LaRocco goes by. There goes Hughes. Bad break for Craig.
You crash in those early laps and make mistakes, and you drop a lot of positions. Everyone's still bunched up. But Craig regrouping, trying to go back under Ryan. But Ryan jumping through that section nice, takes that position back.
Good momentum off that tabletop. And we've got Henry, number 4, LaRocco, number 2, and Ryan Hughes, number 9. Hughes is picking up on those 2.
Meanwhile, Jeremy's gone. Business as usual out front. This is exactly what he needed to do.
Our Suzuki Field summary: McGrath, Henry, LaRocco, Hughes, Kiedrowski, Craig, Lamson, and Ward in that order. Huffman in 14. Back in Indianapolis, Jeremy McGrath, our leader, as Henry and LaRocco battling for 2nd place. Henry, number 4. LaRocco cuts inside, but look out. Oh, he hits the hay bale. Another bad break for LaRocco. Hughes zips by LaRocco. Here comes Kiedrowski, LaRocco's teammate. He's got a chance and gets the edge on him as we take a look at our leader now, Jeremy McGrath. McGrath is just simply trying to time it. He's running his own race right now.
worry-free out front, nobody in his way to interrupt his momentum. We're going to take another look at what happened to LaRocco. His intentions were good. He squares off Henry. Looks like he's going to make the pass, gets a little sideways in that slick stuff, hits the hay bales. And I'll tell you what, he's got to be hurting after that heat race, and that takes a lot of energy to back it up, start the bike, and get going again. Plus, he dropped all those positions.
Ryan Hughes in third, Kiedrowski in fourth, and LaRocco now in fifth.
LaRocco can't buy a break tonight, and as he goes through these sections, he can glance over and see McGrath way out front, and that's the rider he's chasing for the title. It's got to pour salt in the wounds.
Boy, LaRocco really skipping across those whoops very well as we take another look from our Honda triple cam.
He's on the move. He takes Kiedrowski back. He seems to have regrouped. He has a lot of energy, but we're early in the race, and I have to look for him to tire after all that he's been through.
Skip Norfolk, Jeremy McGrath's mechanic, looking on, concerned as McGrath just spinning away.
Look at the airtime McGrath gets to that section. That's very similar to what we saw in Minneapolis earlier in the season. He was jumping that entire section.
Hughes is now making a run on Henry for second place. Ryan Hughes, who opened the season on a 250 machine in Orlando, taking an impressive sixth-place finish, is now making a bid for the podium.
Usually Ryan, when he rides a 250, doesn't get that good of a start. He's gotten a great start here tonight, and he's taken advantage of it. Jan Beekes is with his mechanic, Chad Watts.
Your biggest fan is right next door, Skip Norfolk. He's really rooting for Rhino because he wants him to take points away. But Rhino, you think he can hold on?
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps looking ahead and just worry about the race, he'll be fine. And me, Skip, Jeremy, and Ryan are all good friends, so we root for each other.
I haven't seen you this nervous for a long time. You're just shaking.
I'm nervous.
Chad sensing the excitement of their first podium on a 250, maybe, if number 9 can keep up this strong ride. Here out in front, the champion, Jeremy McGrath, and looking as smooth as ever.
We talked about how easy that Michael Pichon makes it look in the 125. Jeremy doing the same thing in the 250s. All these guys battling back here and still losing time to our leader, McGrath.
Henry, it appears that thumb must be bothering him because he's sliding backwards. Kiedrowski, though, I don't want to take anything away from Mike Kiedrowski, who's getting his timing better and is pulling up on Henry, number 4.
Well, his strategy of late has been to race the track, not the other riders, and it seems to be working. Something he should have been doing all year long, though.
After a second place in Atlanta, a win at Daytona, Kiedrowski would like to jump up in that points race with a fine podium performance here.
And look at Henry, jumps that little double into the corner. You know, Henry's got a lot of little tricks around the racetrack, a lot of technique. He's got the speed, he's got the experience, he's won titles, and I think he's a guy that can win races. It's just surprising that he hasn't been able to do that.
Number 4 and number 7 battling for 4th position in this race. If you've just tuned in, Jeremy McGrath is out in front, and Ryan Hughes is in second place. Here's Kiedrowski making the challenge on Henry, cuts to the inside. Henry the momentum, though, spurts by him.
That was kind of weird by Henry to go wide like that and leave the door open, but he knew he was going to come out of the corner and jump the double and get the lead back. Possibly Kiedrowski could have sensed that and taken his line away, and he just wasn't able to do it. It looks like Kiedrowski's got more speed. He doesn't look content to follow Henry anymore.
As we take a brief look at the hang time before our Suzuki Field Summary, McGrath, Hughes, LaRocco, Henry, Kiedrowski, our top 5. More exciting Supercross action from Indianapolis in a moment. Back in Indianapolis, Jeremy McGrath is trying to get back on the winning track. Hughes is looking for the best race of his 250 career, and we're watching Kiedrowski take Henry and moving into 4th position.
Henry, who possibly could be injured from that heat race crash with LaRocco, appears to be feeling that. He's dropping back. He's not riding with the speed and aggression that he was early in the race, and now Kiedrowski's moving to the front.
Even though in 4th, David, he's got quite a ways to go to get on the podium.
Well, we watch him go through the whoops here. Not a whole lot of rhythm for Kiedrowski. He's not the kind of guy that really relies on rhythm. Ryan Hughes had a nice pattern through there where he was jumping 3 or 4 at a time towards the end.
We talk about rhythm. What a shot.
Yeah, you look up rhythm in the dictionary and you'll find a picture of this guy. He just makes it look so easy that the fans got to be sitting in the upper deck going, oh, I can do that.
Taking a look at our Honda stopwatch to give us an idea of the interval. Look at the big gap between Jeremy McGrath and the field. A lapper, and still, here's our second place rider about 15, 16 seconds behind the leader.
That's an eternity for McGrath. He's just on cruise control. Ryan Hughes riding a great race, but he's got company. LaRocco has regrouped. He's had his share of problems tonight, both mechanically and physically, and he looks like he's pressuring Ryan for the #2 spot now.
Well, while you pick out your favorite rider as we go through this lap, let me remind the fans that we will not see Greg Albertine in this race, number 111, because on press day, he missed time to jump, came down wrong, re-injured the shoulder, and then he injured in the very first race back in Orlando. That was a heat race where he got injured. So he went home to South Africa to heal up, get ready for the outdoor season, get a little tender loving care from mom and dad.
Here comes McGrath, a 1-minute lap time, couple seconds faster than the 125s, and he's in cruise control.
Brian Swank being lapped there by Jeremy McGrath as we take a look at Mike LaRocco in 3rd place. Mike LaRocco does have a chance, though, to challenge number 9, Ryan Hughes, for 2nd.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Ryan does get stronger as the race goes on. LaRocco does too, but tonight's a little different for LaRocco, I think. He's been through quite a bit, and I don't think he has the strength to challenge Ryan Hughes.
LaRocco crashing in the heat race. He brushed a hay bale also in the semifinal. Had to fight back from last place to take 3rd to make the main event out of the semis. He's had a tough night. Ryan Hughes, number 9, in 2nd place.
There's that rhythm through the whoop section I talked about. You're able to do, when you can do that every lap with that rhythm, it just doesn't take any energy at all. You see Kiedrowski and LaRocco going through there. It takes so much strength to just pound through those things one by one.
Here we are late in the race, David, and the track is held up beautifully.
Yeah, the track looks great, and it really is in favor of these guys with the great timing. Right now, Ryan is riding with better timing than I've ever seen.
Chad Watts putting the pit board out to him. I wonder what he had on that board.
Probably just a big smiley face. They've got to be happy. I know Ryan's happy. I don't think he feels threatened by anyone coming up from behind. He's held that lead over these guys, and I don't think he thinks he can catch McGrath either. He's probably just savoring his best finish ever in the 250.
Kiedrowski with better timing that time through the whoops. As we go back to our leader, it is the final lap, and Jeremy McGrath is saying, I am back.
Well, he needed it. That points lead had shrunk to 15, and I'll tell you, that's really not much when you're halfway into the season. The Kawasaki riders have in the past couple of years come on strong late in the season, so he's got to get his points gap back in order to hang on to that title.
5 straight wins, a 4th and a 7th, and looking back for another win right now is Jeremy McGrath. This has got to be one of the most exciting moments in Ryan Hughes' career. He's won 125 races before, but on the big machines, on the 250s, this would be his first podium performance. Jeremy McGrath, the checkers.
Ryan Hughes, this is probably a victory lap for him as well. He's probably high-fiving the crowd. You see a little gesture there. He's stoked. This has got to be one of the best rides of his career.
Has to be a happy moment for his team, too, the Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. Basically fielding a 125 unit, letting Ryan Hughes run that 250 for experience, and it's really paid off. Are we going to see him next year on the 250s?
I hope so. I think tonight's a good indicator that he's competitive in the 250 class, and you could ask him what means more, a 125 title or a 2nd place in the 250 class. You see his mechanics pretty happy about it too.
Looks pretty happy on that podium, doesn't he? As Jeremy McGrath is our winner. We'll be back to hear from all of them in a moment. Riding a Honda around the track, getting the accolades of the fans right now is Jeremy McGrath, his 6th win of the season. His 25th career win, only 2 away from Bob Hanna, 2nd place on the career list with 27. Of course, Rick Johnson just 1 in front of that. Here's our results tonight. McGrath, Hughes, LaRocco, Kiedrowski, and Larry Ward in 5th. Lamson, Craig, Emig, Henry slipping all the way to 9th after being competitive early. With our runner-up, Jan Beekes.
Ryan, you put on a great show for us. Welcome to the 250 Supercross podium. This is your first time here. Nice job.
Thanks a lot. Man, I didn't know what to expect coming into the race, you know. I had a couple bad races the last 2, but put it all together, concentrated on what I needed to concentrate on today, and came out with 2nd. I can't believe it.
Now, is the 250 more to your liking? Does more power help you?
Yeah, I can ride a little bit smoother and don't have to worry about getting over stuff, and today is probably one of the happiest days of my life right now.
Do you feel that pressure from LaRocco?
Yeah, he was there, but I never seen him closing, so I just kept my pace. If he passed me, I knew he was a little bit faster. He's had more experience, but, you know, I kept it all together tonight, and tonight was my night.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
The championship points race.